The first item of business is the approval of minutes for the executive session of May 23rd, 2011, and the regular session of May 23rd of 2011.
Second.
So moved and seconded without any alterations, deletions, or revisions. All in favor of the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public comment is the next item on the agenda, and for anyone in the audience, you may approach and address the committee on any of the topics of this evening's agenda. If you could identify yourself, please.
Gladys Rivera-Rogers. Good evening,
Good evening.
Mayor Howard, Superintendent, school committee members, and Ms. Janice Ronzio. Nice to see you. Superintendent Nancy Kasabian. I'm here on behalf of myself and just basically the local community regarding the search for the superintendent. It's my understanding that one withdrew, and you are choosing between outside and inside. I think the burden lies upon all of you to make the right choice for the students of Malden, and I hope the best choice is made so that way Malden can move forward and continue the leadership that Sid Smith had set forth for us. So it's a hard task. I hope in my heart that it would be a Malden resident that would be succeeding, but I know in my heart that you, the school committee members, will make the best choice to move the education forward in Malden. So Sid, is sad to say that you will be leaving us, and we have to go through this, but I want to thank you all for the hard work that you have set forth. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment portion of the meeting is still open. Now would be the time for anyone else to approach. Otherwise, we'll consider that portion of the meeting closed and move on to item number 4, which is the superintendent's reports.
Thank you very much. As always, I'll start out this evening's meeting with some accomplishments. All of these have to do with teachers as well as students today. The first one has to do with the contest associated with the Malden Reads program that took place in Malden over the course of the last semester. Malden Reads held a writing contest where students interviewed someone and submitted a feature article on the person. The project was inspired by the citywide reading of the book The Soloist. And the students of 2 teachers, Mary Margaret Almonte, who's an ESL teacher at the Beebe School, and Melissa Katz, also an ESL teacher, in this case at the Salemwood School, their kids swept all of the age group winners. So I'd like to announce the winners' names. The first is Baruch T. Siege, who's a grade 4 winner from Salemwood, Susan Cow, who's a grade 5 winner from Beebe, Betty Tang, who's a grade 7-8 winner also from Beebe. A grade 5 winner was Deidre Registre from the Beebe, and a grade 5 winner was also Yajing Suki Lu from the Beebe. And I get a big kick out of just saying the kids' names. When you think about the diversity that's represented in these winners, who are a group of ELL, English language learners in ESL classes, who are winning a writing contest, it says a whole lot about those kids, and it says a great deal about Malden. It just made me really, really proud to be able to read those kids' names. So that was the first announcement. Second, my numbering system here, has to do with the mock UN competition that our kids at the middle and high school participated in. And Rebecca Jean, who's a junior at Malden High School, was nominated and won what is called the Girl Up Award. And it was at the Boston Model UN competition, which included districts from both in and outside of the city of Boston. And Rebecca will be a teen advisor with the Girl Up campaign, which is run by the United Nations Foundation. And it seeks to activate American girls to advocate and raise money for girls' rights in developing countries. and extensive travel is involved with this award. It's really quite a distinguished award, and our own Rebecca Jean from Malden High School won that. In addition, as a result of our work with the Model UN, the United Nations Association of Greater Boston is providing 10 scholarships to Malden students for a summer institute that's held at Harvard University Business School. The Model UN Summer Institute offers a comprehensive introduction to the field of international relations, and the objective is to give students the opportunity to develop their public speaking, negotiation, and research skills while simultaneously learning about human rights and the foundation of the current international system. And our kids, we had 10 scholarships awarded to Malden students. There were not a total of 10 awarded to all of the other districts combined. So I think, again, an outstanding accomplishment, and kudos are definitely in order to all of the members of the Social Studies team, including the Social Studies Director, Judy Allen. Next, 22 students will receive Malden High School diplomas after successfully completing their educational requirements this year through the Pathways program. And for those of you who don't recognize that name, that is the new alternative high school at Malden High that moved in from outside, this year. And it's really quite an accomplishment because the 22 students who graduate is more than 4 times the number of graduates from the alternative high school over the course of my tenure, certainly in the district. And I think it's, again, it is real kudos to Ron Janowitz, the program, and the real positive moves that the whole high school made in that particular area. And then lastly, a number of people in the community, actually, as well as members of the committee, have asked me about, to repeat, what are these colleges that our kids are getting into? We hear that there are, some terrific universities. So I want to just read some of those off again for you tonight. These are schools that our kids got accepted to this year: Stanford, MIT, Harvard, Brown, Tufts, University of Pennsylvania, UMass Honors College, Penn State, Boston College, Bowdoin, Columbia University, Worcester Polytech, University of Pennsylvania, Harvard. I mean, this is an incredible list for an urban public high school, and I just... And that wasn't one student who got into all those schools. But I just wanted, I had to say that because a lot of people have been asking me about it, but it's also, a point of great pride to have had the opportunity to work in such an incredible district that, with a high school that graduates such terrific kids with obviously incredible futures ahead of them. So that's it in terms of the accomplishments this evening. Let me give
on the report.
Anything on the accomplishments? Yeah.
I just want to add one accomplishment for a colleague of ours, Mr. Adam Weldi, who has just recently, in the 22nd or 23rd of May, received his Master's in the Art of Teaching from Tufts University. So congratulations.
Good job, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, moving along in my report, budget update. I do not have any new figures to give to you. Just want to let everybody know that, if you didn't already, that I did present to the City Council last week and talked to the head of their budget subcommittee about presenting again, Mr. Nestor, who was satisfied with the presentation last week. So we are really just awaiting the deliberations of the council and the mayor. And I will be available at any time if folks would like additional information about that. The next point on my presentation has to do with the time on learning agreement. We have successfully negotiated an agreement with the union, and we'll be adding 15 minutes of instructional time at the end of the day for all of the students in grades 1 through 6. Kindergarten kids will also participate in school for that additional 15 minutes, and we are talking to the teachers and the principals about how that time will best be used for the kindergarten kids, because the kindergarten kids do not come under the compensatory time requirements. So I feel really good about that, and I want to thank Marguerite Gonzalez for hanging in there with me and us and what have you, because it's been a few months of really kind of back and forth negotiations. I think we've got a good agreement for the coming year. And then lastly, just want to reiterate, as I put in my report, that Irene Oliver, our school business manager, is resigning to move to a different district closer to her home as business manager, and I just want to express my regret that she's leaving us, and just to mention that it's been a pleasure to have an opportunity to work with Irene for the past 4 years. That's it for my report. Any questions, comments?
Ms. Crowe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I just have a question about the time and learning. Is there anything written that says the extended learning time is not going to have to change? It implies that it not will for next year, but
Right.
maybe for the year after. I know
Right.
both schools and the
Right.
staff in there are very
It
concerned.
may have to change for the subsequent year, but no, there's no additional side agreement that we've had to make for the coming year in terms of the ELT.
Do we have something from the DESC that says it's fine? I think
No.
the concern is that now when
No,
this all
actually, to tell you
changes...
the truth, as you remember, all of this is our own internal kind of self-policing. The DESC has never talked to us about any of our schools. And I have met with the principals of the ELTs to make sure that we are ready should anybody, need to address that concern. And I don't think we do need to address the concern. I think actually internally during the school day, we could make adjustments very quickly on our own. But we handed in the ELT proposals last week, and so because we had our time arrangements, set as of last week, we built the proposals off of those. We have this new agreement right now, but I do not anticipate that we need to make any changes in the ELT for next year.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Crowe? Other questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll move on to item number 5, deliberations. Under deliberations, we have subcommittee updates. We can take any of those. Mr. Iadino?
Mr. Winslow's hand was up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Winslow?
Mic on?
Yeah, I just wanted to notify members that I've drafted up a managing the care of students suspected of athletic concussions draft policy, that the plan will be to discuss that at the next policy subcommittee meeting. So I just wanted to have all committee members have a chance to look at that and provide the subcommittee any of their comments on that before we deliberate on that. And I'm anticipating perhaps on June 20th, once I check with other subcommittee members. But I just wanted to get that in everybody's hands before that meeting, because we didn't have anything in draft form that people would be looking at. So that's just the report, that we'll be having a meeting on that particular policy coming up, and if anybody has comments, please provide them to us. Thanks.
Mr. Winslow? Matters being referred to policy. Any questions? No? Very good. Any other subcommittee updates? Ms. Crowe? And then Mr. Iadino.
Just now that this school year is winding down, we'll be setting another budget subcommittee meeting, hopefully for next week, just to kind of make sure that we rectify all, what we have, what we need to do for this year, and again, continue to look at what next year, depending on where the city council goes with it. So we're pulling our calendars together to get a scheduled meeting for next week, so we'll make sure that people know that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crowe. Any other subcommittee? Mr. Iadino.
Just as a reminder, I will be in contact with Mr. Steve Melanson, the Director of Public Facilities, regarding the issue of the cleaning and shampooing and disinfecting of the rug in the library of the Salemwood School, as well as any progress he's made in once monies are freed up after the start of the new fiscal year with regard to taking care of some of the water issues on the exterior of the building at the Salemwood School. So I will have more information at subsequent meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Iadino. Any other subcommittee updates? Seeing none, we'll consider deliberations closed. Move on to item number 6, the consent agenda. Previously, we had scheduled for this evening a interview of a final candidate. The chair is going to ask Mr. Hardy to come forward, our consultant on our search effort for a new superintendent, and give us an update on the status of things. How are you, Mr. Hardy?
Very good, Mr. Chair, thank you. Late last night, I was notified that Dr. Chris Scott had decided to withdraw from the process. I notified the committee this morning when I became aware of the email. I have been trying to follow up with her talk to her as to some of the reasons behind it, but I have yet been able to make contact with her. I know that, I know 2 of the school committee members had talked to her. Were you able to talk to her?
I did reach
She
her
must be
today.
just avoiding me. So with that withdrawal, the committee has completed the interviews and site visits for the remaining 2 candidates, and this might be a good opportunity for members who went on the site visits to maybe discuss some of their observations on both of those visits.
Good. Thank you, Jim. Anything else on that? That's wrapped up as far as the...
Then if the committee can either go into, decision-making, or I can talk about other options that are available.
Okay. Questions of Mr. Hardy on the update to the committee? Otherwise, we can't hear from any members of the various visiting groups who went to the districts. If anybody wants to volunteer or elaborate Mr. Ivino, their experiences.
I had the pleasure of visiting on the site visit with Mr. Duffy and Mr. Oltrino and Mr. Froyo last Tuesday in Revere when we went to speak with members of the Revere Public Schools concerning Dr. DeRussi's candidacy. I also, this morning, along with Mr. Froyo and Mr. Duffy, were at the Beebe School, again, speaking with people regarding Dr. McCarthy's candidacy. And I was looking at the agenda that's been revised. The agenda that I received to the school committee packet, item number 6 was not on there. And I, for one, would ask this committee to, I would like at least another day or so to sleep on this decision. It's a very important decision. And so I put that out there. Both candidates would be deserving of the job, both fine gentlemen, and I need time to digest all that and sleep on it, at least for another day or 2.
Well, we can always take the appropriate tabling motion when the time comes to at least consider the topic, but why don't we continue on with any other impressions on site visits, and then we'll get to the matter at hand. Mr. Furrier?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I was quite impressed. I went on both the Revere visit and the Malden visit at Beebe Junior High, and I also think that either candidate would be a good candidate for Malden. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Furrier. Any other site visit impressions or words of wisdom? Mr. Duffy?
As Mr. Ivino had said, we had the pleasure of going to both sites. Both candidates were impressive with the number of people that they could bring out from the different areas that they interacted with in their current jobs. I was especially impressed, though, with the Revere candidate, the number of people that came out from all walks of life, the mayor, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, principals, assistant principals, the head of the union, teachers, parents. It was really a very impressive group of people. We met with 3 different groups of about 12 each all through the morning, and I felt that I had a very good opportunity to meet the people that knew him best, and through their discussion of him and their characterization of him, I feel I know exactly what kind of candidate he would be or what kind of superintendent he would be. So while I feel both candidates did a very good job, I am comfortable moving forward, making a decision. Having children, 1 child in the school and soon to be 2 children in the school, this decision is very important to me. It goes beyond my role as a school committee person and encompasses everything in my household with my wife and my children. So I feel comfortable with this decision, and I would like to move forward with it because this was the date we had targeted to come up with this so that the new candidate can be brought on board and have the opportunity to interact with our outgoing superintendent, just to make for a smooth transition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duffy. Any other site visit observations? Mr. Altrino.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the pleasure of just attending one in Revere, and I echo Mr. Duffy's sentiment on the number of people that came. School committee member who was actually a former superintendent of schools, the union president, which I thought was pretty interesting to come. My parents who run the special ed PAC committee, and the desserts were very good too, by the way. But we were there from 8:30 to 12:15 or so, and we stopped for like 15 minutes between, and we just asked every question we possibly could and you know, you couldn't have rehearsed what they were saying. And Mr. Weldi was there as well. So I expressed the same recommendation as Mr. Duffy. I think with Sid's leaving June 30th, you know, all the visits were done, the interviews were done. I think it's time to move on, because you would have to post something for another 48 hours. We have to bring on someone. We need a new business manager. We need a budget passed. So we have a lot, and I think it gives either candidate, whoever's voted in, the time to submit his resignation to his district, whether it's Malden or Revere, to get started with the rolling July 1st, but hopefully spend a couple of weeks with Mr. Smith and allow either Dr. McCarthy or Dr. DeRusi time to clean up their current assignment. So I really think, you know, the search is on schedule, and it's where there are no more interviews. I believe it's time to choose a superintendent of schools for the children's sake and for whoever it may be, time to move on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Altrino. Any other site visit observations? Otherwise, we can, Mr. Weldi, lights on.
I was unable to go to the Malden visit today, but I know the Malden candidate and very impressed with the Malden candidate. I was able to go to the Revere site visit and got to know the Revere candidate, and was also very impressed with the candidate from Revere. So I echo a lot of my colleagues' statements. I think since we're sharing, I am also ready to vote tonight. I would also like to express my thanks to MASC. I think this was a very well put together process. I get a kick out of the fact that, you know, we argued about it for a while, and the two people, you know, the farthest one is from Revere, our nationwide search. I get a kick out of that a little bit, but you know, after we argued about it a little bit, so yeah. But it was a very good process, and he brought forth two very good candidates, and I think I'm ready to go too.
Okay, we have any other? Mr. Kasuchi, go ahead.
Make a motion if we're all done with that.
Well, if we're on the main topic, we don't have any motions to make yet, but we're just doing site observations. But when we get to the main topic, unless there are any other site visit observations, we're there. Okay. So we are on the topic of appointment. Chair in the first regard is going to entertain Mr. Winslow, who served both on the search committee and has done some of this work. So if he
Yeah, I do just have one point of clarification and for the chair, perhaps ruling on this, is that I do have concern about whether the decision on the superintendent is properly before the committee, if this wasn't on our agenda and posted properly. I'm ready to move ahead, but I'm concerned that there may be some question with the open meeting law here, that we have not given 2 days notice on this deliberation. So that's my concern at this moment, that it may not.
For a correction, could we ask Mr. Hardy from MASC on, he actually helps teach the open meeting law to new school committee members. Jim, would you know offhand if it...
Mr. Chair,
Go right ahead, Mr. Hart.
Thank you. The purpose of the 48 hours notice for the agenda is to identify those items that the chair reasonably anticipates will be discussed that evening. It does not preclude adding or changing something on the agenda based off of new information or its change in circumstances. So, yes, you can move forward with this tonight without any problems.
That would be my sense. It's a chair's ruling on this one, and my sense is the topic was on the original agenda for the final interview. I easily would have anticipated at the conclusion of that interview, if there were no other work to be done, no other site visits to be conducted, nothing else that would have stood in the way of a final vote, that a motion certainly could have been made by any member at that time to do any number of things, to seek a further date, seek an appointment of someone. So it's clearly, in my estimation, a topic that is in order. It was on the agenda, at least as an interview, so.
And if you remember, Mr. Chair, this was the date targeted on the original
schedule
timeline as a selection date, so it was out there, it's been out there for a very long time that this was a target date.
Yeah. And that is a consideration as well, although if we had no activity at all,